What's good, Miami fans? This is Brian Smith, publisher of All Hurricanes, and you can find me at FBScout_Florida on Twitter. Going to talk a little bit about Elias Rudolph, the Miami Hurricanes' most recent commitment. He's a 6'4", 215-pound edge out of Ohio. He had moved down to Deerfield Beach, and now he's back up in Ohio. I'm not even positive that he's at Taft where he was before in Cincinnati, but he is back in the Buckeye State. So let's go over the recap of who he is, what he can do, what Miami wants from him, etc. Just kind of go down the list. First off, he's class of 24, so he is a senior this fall. 6'4", 215, as I noted. He is a pure edge rusher. Make no mistake about it. He is one of the most natural and physically gifted edge rushers in the United States. I do not care one iota what his ranking is because it's nowhere near accurate. I looked them up on some of these different sites. They haven't done a very good job with that, in my opinion, and I will stick by that. The reason I say that I will stick by it because I saw him live. By far, the best player that was at the Palm Beach Gardens event this spring for their Jamboree. They have programs from Central Florida, all over South Florida, and he was the best player there. Couldn't be blocked. Whether it was coming straight off the edge, making an undercut, getting a rip through, whatever it was, Rudolph just found a way to shake his way into the backfield and create havoc. What was even more impressive, by far as well, was when he got to the ball after they just went completely opposite. It didn't take long to figure out they couldn't block him. So they would go away, which makes sense. He would go all the way around, whatever. He showed hustle on play after play. And that's the only thing you can ask for. Sometimes in football, you're going to be, quote unquote, left out. And the best thing you can do is to help your teammates by hemming the other guy in, whether it's a running back, a quarterback, a slot, whatever. And Rudolph does that. To make it very clear, he does it play after play on that too. He's not just a random guy that can kind of get there. This kid runs like a strong safety or small linebacker that you would think of old school football for Miami, playing the will spot, maybe a strong safety again. It just kind of depends on your perspective. But he gallops in the open field because he's so long. Like his legs, like his hip is higher than most people. I'm not sure what he wears in terms of a pair of jeans, but it's pretty significant in terms of the length. Now, as far as what I expect him to do, and that would be eat. He is very thin. 215 may be generous. I think that's what he's listed at. I wouldn't be surprised if he was 208, 210. But he needs to gain weight. But his frame with his shoulders and everything, he can average 235, 240 range, I would think, as a year from now would come up. I don't think that would be very hard. I also don't think it's going to matter much before he hits the field, even if it's not every down. I'm not saying he's Ruben Bain because Ruben's so strong, but as a natural pass rusher, you have to find a way to get those guys on the field. Miami flipped him for Michigan, and he also had offers from Florida State. Pittsburgh, who's as good at coaching D-line as there is in the country, they had 48 sacks last year. So if Pittsburgh wants a guy at the defensive edge position, really wants him, not just offered, kind of getting their name in it, like really go after a kid, you know that guy can rush the passer. Ohio State wanted him. Tennessee wanted him. He was a national recruit. The thing that I'm most concerned about short term, though, is just his ability to play the run, obviously being too small for that. I'll go ahead and say it. But Miami has time on their side. They got Jaden Wayne. They got Ruben Bain Jr., Collins, Ashampong. They got Dalen Russell this year, who I think is kind of a unique player because I think he can play multiple spots. I'm not even sure, beyond just listing him as an edge, how I would really go about placing Dalen in the rotation. They'll figure it out once they get on campus. But Miami overall just has a lot of guys that can play there and rotate. So he can be in special situations until Elias Rudolph bulks up enough to be a 1st and 10 kind of guy. Like Bain is 275 or something like that now, according to what Cristobal said. So he can handle 1st and 10. Not every guy is like that. It's a freshman in college. He's pretty rare. So I'm curious with that. A few other notes about the Canes in recruiting. There's another expected commitment coming up. They also have 20 commitments now in the class of 24. Of course, yesterday they got Luke Nickel, the quarterback out of Milton High School, just north of Atlanta. He's a very good recruit. that's a great start to the class of 2025. So a lot of stuff going on with the Miami recruiting class, and I think it's a good thing in August to have some recruiting news because obviously fall camp dominates. And for those of you that do not know, the NCAA does not allow any kind of like physical contact. You can't come out to camp. Coaches can't go to high schools. None of that. There is zero contact within this non-contact period. And I don't think it's going to change that way. I like it. And it's probably for the best for August. So teams can actually work on their own team and, talk about college and high school. It's for the best. September 1st, that'll open up and kids can go and visit different places for games, etc. Coming up as well for the Hurricanes, you got something to think about. Rudolph and every other kid are going to try to get back on campus, even if they've used an official, and he has taken one to Miami. That game on the 9th of September, obviously the Canes host the Aggies. They're coming over from the state of Texas. I expect a lot of kids there. Wouldn't be surprised if Rudolph was one of them, and they're going to do their best to get a lot of guys there. Just kind of want to throw that out because it's a really important date. If you're going to have a good season, you got to bring in kids for games that are calculated risks, games they want to come to. If you lose, you lose, but that's why you play. Miami's got to get some of these kids on campus that they're still trying to get, like Jeremiah Smith, etc. They have to get some of these kids in. With that, I'm going to kind of wrap it up here, but please hit that like button, the notification bell. Check out allhurricanes.com. You can read about Rudolph. I got an article up about him, all his exploits, things that I saw, a little more detail as I wrote about him a while back. And now I've also got the article up today about his commitment. Check out All Hurricanes. And finally, make sure that you comment. If you've seen Rudolph or you're curious about another position, whatever it may be, let it rip. I'm more than happy to, as I say, just kind of go with the flow and talk about any guy you want to talk about. And if you just want to talk about Miami, that's fine too. Happy to do either one. So with that, everybody have a great night and take care.